AB 1333. That's the bill that would have killed your ability to defend yourself. And it is now dead. So what exactly happened? Well, AB 1333, I'm sure you've heard, but if you haven't, it would have required that you basically see if there's a way to retreat before defending your life. So let's go into that more detail to talk about exactly what they were attempting to do. I think it's worth talking about. But before we do, it's important to know that bill is now dead. And this is very rare that this happens. By the time a bill makes it to Sacramento, there's almost nothing you can do to influence it. It's, the people that are going to vote on it in the Assembly and in the State Senate already have their mind made up. You can make phone call after phone call. You can send email after email. The likelihood of killing a bill once it's been introduced up in Sacramento is nil to, nothing. And that's unfortunate. So, what you want to try to do and what we attempt to do is get the right people elected so that these horrible bills are never introduced in the first place. But there's always an exception.
Yeah.
And this was a big exception. And I got to tell you, it's amazing. I can't remember the last time I've seen a bill proposed, an uproar, and then it killed, before it is even voted on.
Less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, this early is amazing.
Yeah, there was so much pressure. There was so much pressure for them to pull the bill, and I think district attorneys were calling, and there was a lot of outrage.
There was, and they say there's a saying out there: victory has many parents, and failure is an orphan. And so everybody's taking credit, and what I want to do is I don't want to take credit. I want to give credit. I want to give credit to everybody that did anything. If you talked about it with a neighbor, if you made a phone call, if you sent an email, if you commented on a news story where they were talking about AB 1333, I want to give credit to every Second Amendment organization in California or that concentrate on this issue in California. Give credit to the Republican Party. They are saying that hey, they did a lot to pressure the author of this bill. And then Chad Bianco, Sheriff Bianco up in Riverside, was very vocal about it. So everybody, take your victory lap. This was a group, joint coordinated event. Everybody stood up and said, yeah, this is ridiculous. So let's talk about exactly what they were trying to do, because I think it's important to kind of understand what was going on there and understand why exactly this thing died. The author is... the guy's not an idiot. I think that it's easy to hear somebody, especially somebody in power, who's trying to do something that you disagree with and pass them off as an idiot. This guy graduated from MIT.
Yeah.
I didn't graduate from MIT. Not a lot of people graduate from MIT. He's not a dumb man. So what exactly influenced this guy? First off, what was he trying to do, and what influenced him to change his mind? His name, by the way, is, I'm looking it up. Zbur. How do you say it?
I think Zbur.
Zbur.
Yeah.
All right. Certainly not trying to insult him by mispronouncing his name. It's Zbur. So basically, what he was attempting to do was make it a requirement that, if you're facing death, if somebody's going to kill or cause serious harm to you, that the first thing you have to do is figure out if there's a way out of that situation before you actually use lethal force.
Would have turned us into a duty to retreat state.
Duty to retreat. That's what they're actually calling it. And in practice, what that literally means is that if your life is in danger, rather than defend, the first thing you have to do is figure out, hey, is there a way for me to get out of this situation?
Jump out of a window.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the interesting thing is, it's kind of this weird, there's not like a clear line. I mean, if you can get out of the situation, if there's a way out of this situation.
That's always advisable, even without this.
It's always advisable,
right.
But then...
To put it into the letter of the law just complicates things. It should be up to the jury to determine whether or not this was, appropriate use of force. to put it into the letter of the law that you have to try. Now the jury has to basically pretend they were in the room with you to see what you did. Did you look around for an escape route? Did you, open a window and jump out? Did you do all these things? Well, it's so subjective. We have no idea what that person thought of, what that person considered doing, what they were thinking in the moment. We can't be in their brain in the scariest moment of their life. So it's really
and that's it. That effort, that legal requirement, that codifying that. Hey, is there another way? And then second guessing. I mean, basically, if your life is if there's a way out, then your life really isn't in danger.
right.
So if you're using lethal force, it means your life is in danger. If you used lethal force and your life wasn't in danger, well, that comes out in a court. Like you said.
Well, yeah, and I think it's important to differentiate between using lethal force for protection of yourself versus protection of others, right? Because it is allowed in California if you are witnessing violent crime happening to somebody else, or you're witnessing a mass shooting event or something, you are allowed to use lethal force to stop that threat on behalf of others. It doesn't have to just be personal defense. But I think what you were saying is specifically related to personal defense. If I'm defending my own life and there's a way for me to just not get in the fight, then why wouldn't I just avoid the fight? Like, that's the easiest option. I don't have to deal with lawyers and court and all the things. So avoiding the fight is always going to be, optimal. But there are some cases where that's just not possible. And we don't want defenders to have to second guess their decision to save their own life in the moment, because these things happen so fast.
Yeah, this choose your own adventure. Like, well, gee, why didn't you try to, like I said, jump out the window or, do some kind of ridiculous act? So that's what they were attempting to do. And, there's so much case law, that would just absolutely destroy that. But there's also the optics. I think this guy, the optics of this thing where he's taking away people's ability to defend themselves. I think that this is kind of an indicator, a possible indicator that he's looking at some of the battleground counties in California and going, hey, if our party is trying to make headway here in California, and our policies are trying to make headway here in California, and we just flipped these counties in the middle of the state, they just flipped away from us, rather. They're voting for Trump or, that sort of thing. And this is not going to fly well in Fresno. This is not going to fly well in Bakersfield and Riverside and whatever. But that combined with, law enforcement professionals like the sheriff and, Bianco up in Riverside, but basically saying, hey, look, if this thing's not going to go well for your reputation, for you as an elected official, because like I said, this guy's not stupid. Yeah. He's not a zealot either.
Don't be tricked. He knew what he was doing. Yeah. He intentionally wrote the bill the way he wrote it, and now he's backpedaling. He's got a few quotes in this article. One of them is, the bill does not change the longstanding castle doctrine and was never intended to affect anyone's ability to protect themselves, their family, or their home. That is not true.
Right.
He 100% knew what he was writing.
Yeah, it's impossible to do what he was trying to do without doing what he said he wasn't trying to do.
Right.
Another quote that he stated, he says that his bill sought to close dangerous loopholes that could allow armed aggressors to initiate confrontations in public, kill their victims, and exploit self-defense laws. Clearly, he doesn't know the law, because if you are the aggressor and you instigate, you lose your innocence. You can't claim self-defense.
Yes.
It's already in the law in a way that would not be justified.
Yeah, he also said that the reason the bill got canceled basically is because of misleading information that fueled fear and confusion about the bill. There is no confusion. I'm not confused. We're not confused. We know what he was trying to do, and we didn't like it.
Well, and I, of course, I'm saying this guy's not a dumb person, but he did actually have a very dumb quote when he was trying to defend this thing before he pulled it, and he brought up what's his name?
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse. He brought up Rittenhouse saying, hey, this is saying that you got to retreat, not act like, Kyle Rittenhouse and whatever, blah, blah, blah. he was actually describing a situation where somebody used self-defense perfectly while they were retreating, 3 times, and anyway, kind of put his foot in his mouth.
I think there's another gentleman in this article by KGET news agency that put this out, David Tingipa, and he made a quote. He said that that this bill was proposed as legislation as part of a criminal first agenda. I think that really sums it up really well. They're putting the criminal first.
That's really starting to go over in California. That whole, hey, they're putting criminals first,
right?
And that, we just had that big referendum, that tried to undo, where they were getting rid of felonies. People could rob a, drugstore without getting a felony. That idea is really, really, truly taking a foothold in California. And I absolutely think that they used that sentiment to show what a bad bill AB 1333 is. I mean, it was really right there in line with all the other laws they've passed that basically coddle criminals. That they're not there to benefit the law abiding. They're there to make sure that criminals don't get in as much trouble or have as hard a time in court. Anyway, I'm glad to see it's gone.
Me too.
There you go. So, good riddance, AB 1333. The other thing, I don't like to make predictions that I can't back up, but this doesn't feel like a bill that's going to pop up again next year, just in a different way. This really feels like they tried something and they got smacked down hard, and it's not going to come back.
Yeah.
Now, there might be another bill next year that's, bad for another reason, but on this particular subject, I don't think they're going to touch that. And again, that is something we can all celebrate here in California as gun owners, that, hey, they tried to take your ability to defend yourself away. And we all said, nope, not going to happen. So congratulations to everybody on AB 1333. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael from Gun Owners Radio. If you liked what you saw, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and make a comment. Help us out. Go to gunownersradio.com. Thanks for watching.